we have to be kind. And there's so much body shame in the world. Fitness-driven marketing is on like making you feel bad about yourself, right? So we have to push against that negative body image. So how do we do that? We do that by being kind to ourselves. You can't hate yourself into change. You just can't.
Welcome to Mastery Podcast, where entrepreneurs and experts uncover the truth about health, wealth, and personal mastery. I'm Dr. Sas, and together we dive deep into strategies that elevate your business and well-being beyond mainstream advice. Get ready for powerful stories, expert insights, and transformational knowledge. Welcome back to Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sas, and today I am so thrilled to be joined by Rebecca Boskovic. She is the founder of Fittest Me. And Rebecca is a life coach, personal trainer, and nutrition expert with over a decade of experience empowering people to break through self-doubt, embrace their strengths, and create lasting change. Her unique approach goes beyond fitness, focus on building confidence and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thank you, Dr. Saz. It's so great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. And let's dive into it, Rebecca. Let's start with your story. What inspired you to create the Fittest Me and dedicate your life to coaching?
Yeah, my story is wide and varied, and there's all these elements of it to share. But for me, I think what it comes down to is that how we see ourselves and liking ourselves affects everything. And I've had moments in my life. I remember being in high school, being really self-conscious about my body and, wanting to fit into certain molds, and how that never helped me, right? Like by being self-conscious about my body, it made me shrink, and it made me become more self-conscious and socially anxious. And so I withdrew from socializing and doing fun things, which made me depressed. And then, I ended up gaining weight. So I guess to say all of this is that I have known what it's like to have self-consciousness affect how I feel about myself and how I socialize. And then it affects my mental health. So a lot of it for me is like being able to help people feel good about themselves so they have strong mental health, they have strong physical health, and so that they have strong relationships. So when I was 19 years old, I had reached a breaking point in my life. Like I was taking all these classes, I was taking Chinese, I was taking bio and chemistry, and I was thinking maybe I was pre-med. And then I just reached the standstill where I couldn't do anything. I couldn't show up for my classes. I was smoking a pack a day of Camels Unfiltered. I was like depressed. I was socially disengaged. And my mom, on her urging, got me to go see help. And so I was talking to the psychiatrist about it. And I said, I just can't do anything because everybody wants something from me. People want me to be happy. They want me to be nice. They want my time. And it was one of those things where I just felt like the world's expectations of me were just so much bigger than I could carry. And so I just gave up. So I quit my classes and I just kind of got out of the whole thing. And I knew it wasn't the end, but I had reached my limit. And so I was talking to my psychiatrist about it. And he said, well, how do you know? How do you know what all these people want from you? Right? Like, how do you know? And I thought about it and I was like, wow, I don't know. I don't know what people want. Like, I thought they wanted this, they wanted that. They wanted me to be nice and upbeat all the time, but I didn't know what they actually wanted. And I realized that those were all thoughts in my own head. And so I did this experiment. I was like, okay, what if I just walked around as if I didn't know what anybody else thought of me? And so I called it like the cloak of not knowing. So before I'd leave my dorm, because I was in college at the time, before I'd leave my dorm, I put on my cloak of not knowing. And I just went out into the world just to see what would happen. And over a 2-week period of time, my social anxiety went away, my depression lifted, And I remember I was driving this one day, and I was driving along, and I looked into my side view mirror and I caught my own reflection. And I had to have a double take because I'd never seen myself look like that before. And when I looked at myself, I looked beautiful. And it was the first time in my life I felt beautiful. And, to put it into context, in high school, I was very popular. I was like on the prom court. I was on the homecoming court. So like I was, from the outside world, I was successful. I was like, had it going for me, like I had friends. But it was all kind of an act, right? Like I was just a people pleaser. I was just like, I kind of knew how to play the game. I knew how to like, hey, how's it going? How's it going? Right? But it wasn't me. Like I was not engaging with people from an authentic place. I was just doing it to just get by that next social interaction and make everything go smoothly. So, but in that moment, once I realized I actually didn't know what anybody thought of me, then I actually liked how I looked. Like now I was like, wow. And in that 2-week period of time from when my doctor had said, how do you know what anybody thinks of you, to the time when I had embodied this for a couple weeks of experimenting, my whole nervous system had relaxed. Everybody was in their rightful place. No one was above me. No one was below me, right? Like it was just very even keeled. And not only that, I was taking an art class at the time, and everything I saw, I could draw. So like, even though I wasn't an artist, I was actually a literature major at that. Like I switched from science to literature and stuff, but I was taking this art class. And in doing the art, like if there was a model or if there was like a display that we were drawing, everything I saw came out on the paper. So meaning there was just so much flow going on, and I wasn't self-conscious. It was the most liberating, free experience of my life, right? Where I was just me, and I didn't care what other people thought of me. And then as a result, I just liked myself. So that was a very formative time in my life. Like it lasted for about 6 months of this sort of highly empowered, highly embodied, at peace place of my life. And in that time, my mom had gotten sick. So I was 20 at the time, and I got called back to my home because it looked like she wasn't going to make it. So I came back and spent a couple weeks with her. And she did end up passing away. And it was one of these things where I was so present with her in that final stage of her life. And what ended up happening for me was it was very formative, because it was the first time in my life when I saw my mom as a human. It was the first time in my life where I wasn't like resentful or any negative emotions we sometimes have about our parents. But because I knew who I was and I wasn't projecting stuff onto her, I was at peace. And it was like the first time in my life when I felt like I just knew who my mom was and I could be myself with her. And so because of that experience, I realized that for the rest of my life, I wanted to live my life in a way where every day I was at peace with myself, so that no matter what happened, I would be able to handle it. Right. So that became like those two experiences of realizing that how I see myself has everything to do with letting go of what I think anybody else thinks of me and being embodied. And then also knowing that having that peace within myself allows me to have positive relationships with other people. So all of that ended up being like the framework for everything else for the past 30 years. So I'm in my 50s, and over the past 30 years, what ended up happening after that is I did have some mental health issues. And one of the things my doctor at that time said, he said, well, if you don't want to deal with the symptoms of anxiety, if you don't want to deal with the symptoms of depression, then you should be exercising every single day. And you know how people will say, oh, exercise 3 to 4 times a week. And here's him telling me, no, you should be exercising every day. I'm like, really? I have to exercise every day? Are you serious? So, and he said, okay, well, 6 days a week. I was like, oh, okay. So what ended up happening is after college, I'm working in my family's business and I want to show up my best self, right? Like family business, I'm working with my brother. We're trying to make things happen. And so what I knew is that when I got up early and I exercised and I got to work, I was a better worker, I was a better sister, and I was just overall, my mental health was stronger. And as a result, I just got into the rhythm. You wake up, so I get up at 4:30, get out the door, go get in my workout, get to work by 6:15, talk to the shop crew and, do whatever management stuff I was doing at the time. And that became the foundation of my consistency. So like one of my programs, for example, that I'm working on is consistency for results. But what I help my clients do is build consistency around their habits. Because when you can build consistency and you can build that rhythm into your life of self-care, everything flourishes. You can think properly, you're not tired, you have energy, you're confident, you're able to like have these good interactions with people. Whereas when you're not taking care of yourself, like on the days when I didn't show up for myself, I overslept, hit the snooze button too many times, my day didn't go so well, right? And that was just in my 20s, and then I met my, my future husband and now I want to show up as a good wife, right? So I've got to do that. And then before you know it, in my 30s, I'm having children, right? I had 4 kids in my 30s. And it's the same thing. So like, for me, everything is about consistency, because if you can find that thing that makes everything else in your life better, that's the worthwhile goal, right? It's like we all have that habit that when we can do that one thing, everything else goes better. So one of the things that we're all challenged with is, what is your habit? Like, what is that thing that gets you like focused and on board with your day? Like whatever that is, that's what you want to do. And for me, movement has always been critical in that. Like as long as I can move my body, I know that like if I wake up with like anxiety and thinking about checklists and how am I going to get stuff done, as long as I get moving, like I can raise myself from like an anxious, kind of hopeless state of like, how am I going to do it all? There's no way, I'm overwhelmed, right? As long as I can move for about 7 minutes, it just takes about 7 minutes for me to rise above that, all that thinking. I can rise and now I feel normal. Now I feel confident. Now I feel good. Now I'm ready for my day.
Everything that you say makes sense, right? You need balance. You need movement. You need self-love. You need to feel empowered and all this thing. And how do you help your clients embrace their, this all this thing along their journey? What does it look like when they like, come to your program? The consistency for results, right? Is that what you're talking about? How does it help people transform?
Yeah. So I'll work with people one-on-one, and that's a lot of listening. And I'm listening for.
You listen, really?
Good one.
I need to throw that in there.
I like that. Is that possible? Yeah. It goes both ways. I had to learn that skill. But the one-on-one and the consistency for results are a little bit. Consistency for results is a group online program that I'm developing that has videos and then it gives people an opportunity to log their progress, so that it's a community of celebration around progress, essentially, because a lot of success really comes from like all the little steps that we take, right? But sometimes people are like, but I want to be here. But I'm only here. But it's like, yeah, but we got to celebrate here before we can get here, that kind of thing. So kind of keep that momentum going. So consistency for results is that. But in terms of one-on-one coaching, what I'm always looking for are essentially, what are people's values? What drives them? What's important to them? A lot of times I think people get stuck because they attach themselves to values that don't belong to them, right? So they're like looking at the world's values and thinking, well, I should be like that. But is that really important to you? Like, is that going to get you out of bed? Like, do you really want to be a supermodel? Do you really want to wear bikinis on social media? I don't know. Maybe that doesn't work for me, but maybe it works for you. But so I'm listening for what people value, what's important to them, what drives them, and so that's the pull in life. It's like, what pulls you forward? What helps you elevate? What drives you up, right? And then we're using that movement upwards to counteract what are the things that are stopping you? What are the things that are trying to pull you back, turning to the past? Like, what are those burdens? So we're releasing the burdens, we're moving forward, and then we're building the habits around something that's meaningful to them. And what's something that's going to make them feel better, right? What's something that they're willing to do? Like, I'm not one of those coaches like, all right, we've got this list and here you go and go do it. And then people are like, what? They won't know how to connect with that. So helping people find like, okay, what are you willing to do? What does this seem doable? Is this like, and so usually there's some kind of choice. Like, well, I hear that this goal is important, like weight loss. Okay, so weight loss, it sounds like that's an important goal for you. Okay, if that's the case, are you interested in, like which way of modifying how you eat is going to work for you? Are you somebody who's going to want to count calories and have restriction? Most people don't. It's just too much. It's like, it's so hard to maintain. Or are you somebody who wants to learn how to look at a plate and be like, yeah, that looks balanced. And then as they do that, they feel empowered. Again, they feel at peace. They start losing weight, and they do it in a way that just kind of feels effortless. It's like, I think we think that self-care and health has to be like this burden or this thing we have to like try really hard at. And it's really just the opposite. Like, our bodies are constantly wanting to heal, and our bodies want to support our goals. But we need to get buy-in, and we get buy-in from our body by doing things that actually align with who we are. Sometimes people feel like they have to, they should, they're required to, like there's something wrong with them if they don't behave a certain way. And what ends up happening is they feel all this shame around their behavior, and that shame actually just locks them up and stops them because it's a negative emotion, right? So we're emotional creatures, so we have to appeal to the positive emotional states, and we have to reduce the negative emotional states. And we do that by keeping things uplifted. Like, all right, what are we willing to do? So it's like an element of optimism that we have to maintain. So in a sense, I'm kind of teaching people optimism, like, it's okay, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it, right? And letting go of sort of this feeling like, I should be like this and I should do that. And then what's more demotivating than feeling like you should do something?
Right. I feel like we shouldn't have to do anything, right? It's a choice. Right. It's like, what are we willing to do? What do we want to do?
Yes.
Not what, because we do it because that person said that, or because I have to look this way for whatever reason, right? And let me ask you this, Rebecca. What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck and unsure of how to begin?
For me, all change begins with kindness. Like, we have to be kind. And there's so much body shame in the world, right? Like, a lot of like fitness driven marketing is on like making you feel bad about yourself, right? Like, and so that, so we have to push against that negative body image. So how do we do that? We do that by being kind to ourselves. You can't hate yourself into change. You just can't. All that hate and self like loathing, all it does is activate the negative parts of our amygdala, which then put us into a state of anxiety, which then drives the negative behaviors, those whether it's, overeating, undereating, whatever, the binge eating, all the negative stuff comes from that negative emotional state. So we want to reduce that. So if somebody is stuck, what you want to do is you want to start to be gentle with yourself. You want to be like, I'm okay. And like, make the goals small. Like, what are you willing to do? Are you able to walk outside your door and go find some sunshine and put some sunshine on your face. Like, you want to heighten the positive emotional states. So start doing something that you are willing to do instead of putting all this burden and this load on yourself. Like, you've got like, be that person, and, you know, whatever it is that you're pushing against, gentle it up, you know, make it more neutral. Okay, I got some sunshine. And then you start to find those little wins, like, hey, I showed up for myself today. Like, find those little ways that you can show up for yourself. And then what will happen is now it's like, oh, I am okay. Like, there's nothing really wrong with me. And it's kind of like what I was talking about when I was 19, 20, looking at myself and seeing myself as beautiful over a 2-week period of time. It's not like I actually changed how I looked. But when you can relax a little bit, you have a little bit less anxiety around your body and how you look, everything calms down in your nervous system. And as a result, you do look different in the mirror. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, I like myself, right? So we want to like ourselves. When we like ourselves, that's when we start taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. So start being kind to yourself. You know, I also, I would say something to people like, you know, how do you do that? How do you be kind to yourself? You will look at yourself as someone you care about the most. If you're a mother, look at yourself as how would you treat your child, right? You would treat your child with kindness. It's the unconditional love that you give to others. You should be giving that to yourself. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? Just like on the airplane. So that's beautiful. The first thing is to look for ways to treat yourself with kindness. If it's be going outside, get some sunshine, or taking a walk, it's just small wins, right?
Very small wins, and celebrate them.
Yeah.
Celebrate them. If you are somebody who has a hard time getting out of bed, if you get out of bed, celebrate it.
Yeah.
Right? If you have somebody who has a hard time connecting with other people, if you smile at someone or say hi to them in line, celebrate it.
Yeah.
Right. Positive.
It's not easy. It's not easy. You know, it's easy for us to say because I've been through that self-love journey. You know, it's like we are our worst enemy, right? We want to show up. We want to be perfect, and we want to, you know, get those A's or, you know, get the promotion or whatever. And if we don't get it, then we're too hard on ourselves. And I think that you say it in the most perfect way is celebrate those small wins. Important.
Can I add one other thing that I've started doing for myself?
Sure. Actually, my next question is, what are the 3 practical steps you think our audience can take today to begin their transformation?
So all change with this kindness it's about awareness, right? So essentially the 3, to build consistency, we always need to make a choice. We need to make a commitment, and then we build consistency around that commitment. And that is the cycle, again and again and again. So we're always beginning with the choice. And the choice, and I said that about awareness. Awareness is just like, what do I want to change, right? That's the awareness. Like, what is it that's bugging me right now? Like, if someone's having a hard time, like with their self-image in their body, or like they just don't like how they feel in their skin, well, that's an awareness. That's saying like, I don't like how I feel in my skin. Okay, that's helpful. Now we get to make a choice. What is the thing that you think will make a difference in how you feel? Well, you know, I know I should be exercising. Okay, do you want to exercise? You know, and then kind of explore whether they actually want to exercise or not. Okay, well, what kind of exercises work for you in the past? Well, I always like going for my walks. All right, so there we go. You know that you want to move more. You don't really like the classes, or that hasn't worked for you, or whatever, but you know you like going for walks. Do you like listening to music? Do you like talking to your friends? You know, I really just kind of like listening to nature. All right, so you're going to go for a walk. You're going to listen to nature. You're just going to clear your head. And how much time are you willing to commit to this? Well, you know, I think I could do, you know, I know I could at least get in 15 minutes. Okay. So let's start there. So what we're doing is there's the awareness, like, I don't like how I feel in my skin. There's that awareness of like, I think the next step forward for me is to start moving because I know I feel better about myself when I move and I like to walk. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're creating a choice. The choice of where I'm going to start focusing my attention is around the walk. Okay, so now we're building commitment. So we've made the choice. Now the next step is to build commitment. So you're building a commitment like, okay, what does that look like? Well, I want to go for a walk every day. All right. So what time of day? Well, during the week, I want to do it first thing in the morning. Okay. So what you're doing is you're making a commitment around like a specific action. And when is this going to happen? Is this a daily thing? Is this a weekly thing? What is that looking like? Like, for example, I have one client who she just knows that as long as on Sunday she gets her prep stuff in, like she's prepared for the week, the rest of the week goes well. So we're really focused on that Sunday habit because once she's got her food prepped, she's planned her meals, she's fine, right? So whether it's a once a week kind of thing like that, or it's a daily thing, you've made the choice, you've made the commitment. Now you start the process and the journey of consistency. All right, this week I got in 3 of my 6 days. All right, good. And then the next week they get in 4 days and they're like, I did better than the last week, right? So the consistency is about essentially a determination and a perseverance to not give up, right? Like this goal is important because I don't like not feeling good in my skin. And it's good because whenever I do it, I feel better. Right. And so now there's life that happens that breaks up the consistency. So now we're just like, okay, well, yeah, I talked too long to my friend that night and she was just telling me all of her problems and I didn't even solve anything. So, okay, next time I give my friend 15 minutes, not an hour, right? And I go to bed on time, so I get up on time, So once we've made that choice and that commitment, then what happens is it's a focusing goal. And once we have a focusing goal, then we start filtering out everything that does not align with that goal. And that's what allows us to build consistency. It's like, okay, I wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be this week. Why? Okay, I'm going to eliminate that, build more of this in, go to bed earlier, put my clothes out, that kind of thing. And then as a result, you get more and more committed, more and more fine-tuned in that consistency. And then eventually you get so consistent at that thing, you want more. And when that happens, then you kind of go through the whole process again. You're like, okay, well, what do I want? And then you make a choice, you build a commitment, and then you build consistency around that behavior. And that's the whole cycle. You just do it again and again and again. And you're just constantly fine-tuning and improving so that your momentum is upward and you're decreasing any of the things that try to pull you down.
Yeah, and then it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm. The consistency of effort becomes the habit. That's the consistency.
Absolutely.
It's a mindset of consistency. Yeah.
Absolutely. So talking about mindset, how can shifting your mindset impact long-term success in fitness and personal growth?
Oh my gosh, it's so huge. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Carol Dweck. I can only imagine you are, but Carol Dweck is like the queen of mindset, right? Like she has her book, Mindset, the science of transformation. I can't remember the name of her book exactly, but I had read that book back in 2006 after my first was born, because I'm thinking my passion, I'm a mom. Right? Like for me, most of my decisions come through the filter of like, how can I be a good mom? When my first was born, and this does tie into your question, but when my first was born, she, here's this precious little being. And I'm thinking, how am I going to be a good mom to this little creature, right? To this precious being. And what I realize is I'm so imperfect. How am I going to be the perfect mom? And I realized it was an unsolvable problem because I can't be perfect. I'm deeply flawed and I've got a lot of bad habits. So what am I going to do as a mom if I can't be perfect? I thought, well, I could model change. Mm-hmm. I want to be the kind of mom who's not perfect. I want to be the kind of mom who shows her children that we make mistakes And that when we do make mistakes, we try to correct them so we don't make them as bad the next time, or we actually eliminate them altogether, right? So my purpose as a mom is to model change. And so as a result, maybe it was around that time I'm reading Carol Dweck's book and about mindset. And so Carol Dweck's whole concept is about growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And the growth mindset says that change is possible and that challenges are opportunities for growth, right? Whereas a fixed mindset says either you're good or you're bad, you're strong or you're weak, you're smart or you're dumb, right? Like those are the choices. And so it's not a very fertile ground for change, right? So you're either like you are or you're not. And that kind of stops people from growing. So if you can change your mindset around becoming growth oriented, which means welcoming challenges as opposed to like, that looks too hard, I'm going to go this way. Oh, that looks hard. I want to know what's hard about that and how can I like master that? So it was really because I became a mom that I think I built a strong mindset, because I didn't, again, my parents were challenged by their own self-limiting beliefs and their capacities. And I wanted to be the kind of mom who was not. And actually, in all fairness, part of the reason I have that mindset about wanting to be a mom who changes is the truth is my mom did change. She had been a wallflower. She had been depressed. She'd had pretty serious issues in her lifetime. But at some point, there was a pivotal point when she changed and she started standing up to people and she got empowered. And she before my eyes, my mom changed. And so what that taught me is that change is possible. And if I had had a mom who gave up, if I had had a mom who I guess I don't have it, then I would probably be more that way. But because I saw that she changed, I was like, I want to be one of those moms, right? Like I want to be a mom who changes. And so as a result, that becomes the thing for me. It's like, that's who I want to, that to me, that is the legacy that I want to leave my children, that change is possible. So as a result, if you kind of have that kind of mindset, like, all right, I want to be my best self, then I'm always building upward, right? Like I'm always building my tower up, and then modeling that for my kids so that as they struggle in life and they come against barriers, we're having conversations like, all right, where's the opportunities here? How can you move forward? This kind of thing. So I would encourage people to develop more of a growth mindset, which means embracing the challenges. It means learning from the setbacks, figuring out where and who needs to be in your life, or like where there's opportunities for growth, what needs to be eliminated, how you can get better, and then just see yourself as like the determiner of your future. And so that's the mindset shift is everything. Like it all starts there. Like you have to be able to embrace the journey in order to go on the journey, right? Because it's not easy. Life's not easy, right?
Life is not easy. You need to look at it from a different perspective. And that's the man Chip said. It's not the perfect mom that you can't be, but it's the mom who can evolve and become this, beautiful flower and all other stuff, right?
Yeah, bloom, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that bloom, and like your mom blossom in front of your eyes, right? Mm-hmm. So amazing, incredible. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I wish we have more time. You're just really positive, high energy, and thank you so much for bringing that to our audience and for sharing your incredible insights, for sharing your story. It is truly inspiring, and I encourage you to continue and thank you for being there and for helping people to live an empowered life.
Thank you so much for having me on. You are such a bright light, and your positivity shines clearly. And what you're offering people is an opportunity to connect with their health in a really deep and meaningful way that's accessible and real. Covering all the areas, whether it's the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, all of it. And so thank you for having me on, because this was a really lovely experience.
You're welcome. And thank you also for your kind words. I appreciate that. And thank you for recognizing that. And for those who are tuning in, if you'd like to learn more about Rebecca and her work, visit the fittestme.net. And we put that in the description below, and connect with her on her social media. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget, click like, subscribe, and share with someone that you think could benefit from this conversation. And thank you for joining us on Mastery Podcast. Until next time, keep growing, keep thriving, and keep mastering your life. Bye for now. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you so much.